In every courtroom, where rules are strict and justice takes center stage, emotions can unexpectedly take over, turning an ordinary hearing into an unforgettable spectacle. Imagine a space filled with quiet tension, victims' families grieving their loss, a defendant awaiting judgment, and a judge working to maintain order. Then, without warning, a single spark ignites the room. Words are exchanged, actions spiral out of control, and the delicate balance of law and emotion is destroyed. Today, we'll uncover one such extraordinary moment, a Louisville courtroom brawl that erupted during a murder hearing. This gripping incident not only tested the limits of courtroom control, but also revealed the profound emotions that make justice a deeply human endeavor. Join us as we dive into the chaos, explore its causes, and reflect on the challenges of balancing law and humanity. It's an October day in Louisville, Kentucky, and the Jefferson County District Court is holding a hearing that promises to be tense. Paul Wade, a 31-year-old defendant, stands accused of murdering 26-year-old Lamont Smith and 24-year-old Alexis McCrary. The crime, which took place on September 10, 2022, in the Russell neighborhood, left two families shattered in a community seeking justice. Inside the courtroom, grieving family members of the victims sit together, their faces filled with sorrow. Every word exchanged in court holds weight for them. They are desperate for answers, accountability, and a sense of closure. The room is heavy with a mixture of grief, anger, and anticipation. This is the first time many of them are seeing Wade in person since the tragic events. At the center of it all is Judge Ann Haney, an experienced figure of authority tasked with maintaining order. She begins the hearing with professionalism, addressing Wade directly. The tension is immediately apparent when Wade hesitates to confirm whether he has legal representation.
Are you going to hire a lawyer?
Judge Haney asks, her tone steady. Wade replies uncertainly.
I don't know. I gotta see my financial situation, but I'm trying to hire.
His lack of clear answers adds to the underlying tension in the room. Paul Wade's criminal record casts a long shadow over the proceedings. Known for prior convictions, including being a felon in possession of a handgun, his past only deepens the distrust and frustration of the victims' families. For them, this is more than a court hearing. It's a moment that represents years of pain and loss. As the judge works to move the hearing along, she sets a firm deadline for Wade to hire legal representation.
So if it's not here by November 1st, we're going to talk again about the public defender.
Okay.
Her words aim to keep the process orderly, but the emotions in the room are anything but calm. The courtroom, meant to be a space for justice, feels like a pressure cooker. The weight of the charges, the presence of grieving families, and the defendant's apparent indifference create a volatile environment. Everyone present senses that the tension in the room could boil over at any moment. However, remains vigilant, prepared to intervene should decorum slip. In this charged setting, it's clear that emotions are running high, and the fragile balance of courtroom control hangs in the balance. The courtroom atmosphere remains heavy as the hearing comes to a close. Deputies begin to escort Paul Wade out of the room. The grieving families of Lamont Smith and Alexis McCrary, the two young victims Wade is accused of killing, sit tensely, their emotions barely contained. Then, Wade breaks the silence. With a sneer, he mutters a single word, directed at the victims' families. The insult hits like a match, igniting dry kindling. Overcome with grief and anger, several family members surge forward, their pain transforming into a raw, uncontrollable need to confront the man accused of taking their loved ones. The room erupts into chaos. The man shouts, his voice trembling with fury and sorrow as he moves toward Wade. Chairs scrape loudly against the floor, and the hum of courtroom decorum is replaced with shouts and cries of anguish. What starts as a verbal reaction quickly escalates. Family members begin to physically advance on Wade. Some leap over the courtroom barriers, their desperation driving them into spaces meant to symbolize the rule of law and order. One individual even climbs over the judge's bench in a determined attempt to reach Wade. This sacred space, typically off limits, becomes another battleground for grief-stricken families. In the heart of the chaos, Judge Ann Haney's voice cuts through. She cries, her tone urgent as she calls for additional security to intervene. Deputies, caught off guard by the suddenness of the outburst, rush to contain the situation. Wade, now visibly uneasy, attempts to retreat toward the hallway behind the judge's chambers, but the families refuse to relent. Someone shouts in the commotion, frustration and desperation mixing with the chaos. The deputies scramble to protect both Wade and the others in the courtroom. Their commands are sharp, but often drowned out by the shouts and cries of those involved. The raw intensity of the moment is palpable. Family members, overcome by their emotions, ignore the calls for order. A man screams. Repeatedly, his words echoing in the chaotic room. Meanwhile, the deputies work to create a barrier between Wade and those attempting to confront him, pulling people away from the path leading out of the courtroom. The eruption isn't limited to those advancing toward Wade. In the gallery, others shout encouragement or plead for calm, their voices competing with the clamor of the scuffle. One woman yells, her words a desperate attempt to restore reason. However, the chaos spreads throughout the courtroom. The once structured environment feels unrecognizable. Shuffling feet, heavy breathing, and emotional cries fill the air, painting a vivid picture of how grief can overpower decorum. Every action in this moment reflects the immense pain carried by the victims' families, a pain that has boiled over, spilling into every corner of the room. Deputies begin to regain control. The emotional impact of the outburst is undeniable. The fragile line between law and raw human emotion has been crossed. Judge Haney, though shaken, remains at her post, her voice steady as she continues to call for calm. The courtroom, now quieter, carries the heavy residue of grief-filled chaos. The room itself seems to breathe the weight of loss, a place transformed from one of order into a raw human battleground of pain and sorrow. The courtroom, once a scene of chaos, slowly begins to return to order as deputies regain control. In the wake of the outburst, 4 individuals are taken into custody: Joshua Whetstone, Montre Kane, Isaiah Smith, and Joshua Smith. Their charges include disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, and obstruction of governmental operations. Additionally, Isaiah and Joshua Smith face assault charges for their roles in the altercation. For the families of Lamont Smith and Alexis McCrary, this day had already been emotionally challenging. Seeing Paul Wade in custody for the first time, accused of taking their loved ones, was a deeply painful moment. That pain, amplified by Wade's provocative insult during the hearing, became too much to bear. One man shouted in anguish, his voice echoing through the courtroom as the confrontation escalated. Emotions, raw and unfiltered, were impossible to contain. Judge Ann Haney, shaken but composed, reflects on the challenges of managing such emotionally charged moments.
The court system is a long process, and they're going to have to get their emotions in check, understand what the system is about, but not ever react that way in a courtroom again.
Her words acknowledge the intense grief of the families while emphasizing the importance of maintaining courtroom decorum. Adding another layer to the day's events is an anecdote Judge Haney shares. An 8th grader shadowing her on that day. The student, aspiring to become a judge, witnesses the outburst firsthand, a harsh reminder of the unpredictable and emotional nature of courtroom proceedings.
I had an 8th grader who was shadowing me. She wants to be a judge.
Haney says, "For the student, the day serves as an unfiltered glimpse into the challenges of navigating law and human emotion. The broader implications of this courtroom disruption reach beyond just those involved. Legal professionals reflect on how grief can drive even the most composed individuals to act impulsively in high-stakes settings. For the families, the courtroom was not just a venue for justice, it was the first time they saw Wade face consequences for his alleged actions. That moment, a result of years of pain and anger, became the catalyst for the emotional eruption. Security protocols come under scrutiny in the wake of the incident. Courtrooms, meant to be places of solemn order, must also account for the deep emotional toll cases like this impose on families, increasing physical security measures while providing emotional support systems for grieving families during hearings. As the courtroom settles, the emotional weight of what unfolded lingers. For the victims' families, the events of the day serve as a painful reminder of their loss. For legal professionals, it's a call to balance empathy with maintaining order. And for everyone present, it's a harsh illustration of the human stories behind every case that passes through the courtroom. This incident, a powerful reminder that even in courtrooms, places built on the foundation of order and justice, the rawness of human emotion can take over, disrupting the structure and leaving a lasting impact on everyone involved. In Louisville, grief and anger overwhelmed the boundaries of the legal system, exposing just how fragile the balance between law and humanity can be. For the families of Lamont Smith and Alex McCrary, this was more than a hearing. It was an emotionally charged confrontation with the man accused of destroying their world. The law strives to bring accountability, but it cannot fully contain or heal the depth of pain experienced by those left behind. That's all for today's story. If you found this account compelling, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another gripping courtroom tale. Until we meet again, remember to stay safe and keep informed.